Once upon a time, in a small kingdom nestled between towering mountains, there lived a king renowned for his wisdom and fairness. Although he possessed everything a king could desire, power, wealth, and a magnificent palace, he never forgot that all these things were fleeting, the result of his actions in the past. The king believed deeply in the power of karma, that the actions you take today will eventually return to you, good or bad. One day, a beggar arrived at the gates of the palace. He was gaunt and tattered, standing with his head bowed before the king. The beggar humbly asked for food, and without hesitation, the king ordered a banquet to be prepared for him. "You are a great and wise king," the beggar said after eating, "but I know that true power does not come from wealth or position. It comes from the actions you take and the seeds you plant in life." The king, puzzled, asked, "What do you mean?" The beggar smiled gently, his eyes filled with a deep understanding. "Look at what you have done in your life. Every decision, no matter how small, has consequences. They not only affect you, but also those around you. Everything you do will eventually return to you in ways you cannot predict." The next day, the king decided to take a walk in the forest near his palace to reflect on the beggar's words. As he wandered through the thick trees, he came across a wounded deer struggling to stand. Without hesitation, the king knelt beside the creature, carefully tending to its wounds. His heart swelled with compassion for the animal, and he stayed until the deer regained its strength. In the days that followed, the king became more mindful of his actions. He treated his subjects with more kindness and understanding, listening to their concerns and offering help to those in need. He understood that everything he did, no matter how small, could have an impact on the future. A year later, war broke out between his kingdom and a neighboring one. The king's army was outnumbered, and it seemed as if all hope was lost. But then, amidst the chaos of battle, the king noticed a familiar face in the enemy's ranks, the beggar, now dressed in full armor and leading the enemy troops. The king was stunned, realizing that the beggar he had once helped had risen to a position of power. The beggar, now a commander, locked eyes with the king. There was a silent recognition between them, and the beggar signaled his troops to halt. He approached the king, offering a hand to help him up from the ground where he had fallen. "Thanks to your kindness, I was able to change my life," the beggar said. "Now I return that kindness to you." The king, wounded but grateful, realized that the beggar's transformation had come full circle. His compassion had brought him this unexpected ally in his time of need. The two men stood on the battlefield, side by side, in mutual respect. From that day on, the king understood the full meaning of karma. Every action, every word, and every decision, no matter how small, had the power to shape the future. He learned to live with an open heart and to always consider the consequences of his actions, knowing that what he gave to the world would eventually come back to him. As the years passed, the king's wisdom became legendary. He taught his people the importance of kindness, fairness, and the power of karma. His kingdom flourished, and his people learned to act with compassion and integrity. And so, the circle of karma continued, teaching all who crossed the king's path that the seeds we plant today will grow into the future we will one day face.